All right, guys, I got a story for you all today. A very important story, very impactful story, one of the most important stories of my life, honestly. It's very important. So, today I'm going to tell you guys a story about how I discovered the truth about eating meat. Where do we go back? Well, I've always been someone throughout most of my life, getting into self-improvement, getting to the gym, etc., who was very pro animal diet. So pro eating a lot of meat, eggs, a lot was the healthiest thing for you. And even got so far to the point where I ended up falling for the propaganda and trying the carnivore diet, which was by far the worst I ever felt in my life. Um, I was training clients as an in-person trainer at the time, and I had clients after I did it for about 8 weeks, which was only meat, eggs, butter, etc. So no carbs whatsoever. I felt awful. My workouts were the worst workouts I ever had in my life. I had clients asking me if I was okay. I felt like I was gonna pass out sometimes at work, just because no energy. I would go to the back room and take a nap. And I remember eventually I was like, you know what? I told my client, I think I need to try a protein cookie. So I went to the front desk, got a protein cookie. It had 50 grams of carbs, 20 grams of sugar. And within 2 hours, I felt like Superman. Best I had felt at all in those 2 months. So let's give you that back preface to emphasize that I was super, super pro eating meat. Anytime I lost an SR streak, check out the previous video on this channel my brother posted about semen retention. You want to get your energy back quickly. And I thought, the number one thing I need to eat would be, ground beef to get my jing back, my energy back, all the nutrients in beef. You know what I mean? It's so nutritious. I don't even know what nutrients it was, but it's just obviously so nutritious. So that was the life that I lived. Now, at the same time, I'm also a very spiritual person. Most spiritual diets, if you look at, Hindus, the Sattvic diet, more Taoist, they don't involve heavy consumption of meat. It's more like a Western thing. Europeans, probably the biggest consumers of meat and dairy. And so, who are also probably the least spiritual people. In the East, there was a Sattvic diet. And at one point, around this time, this is about 2022-ish, I'm getting into more spirituality, semen retention, even deeper, meditation. And I was like, I'm going to try the Sattvic diet, which is supposed to help you be the most spiritually pure, and that involved no eating meat. So I tried that for a bit. I also, at one point during a fight camp that year as well, I went fully vegan for a month to try to help with acne, because I had really bad acne. It was hormonal though, so it didn't help. It did help slightly, but not that much. Taking out dairy is always going to be helpful for reducing acne. Why? Dairy is inherently estrogenic, all right, unlike soy, which is what they tell you. We get spoiler alerts here. So that's a little background, guys. I know I'm kind of going a little all over the place. I'm just doing this off the dome. I have no notes. This is a raw talk. That was kind of my background. Now, when it came to the ethics of it, at one point during this time when I was researching this Sattvic diet, these spiritual diets, I came across a video called Dominion. I only watched a minute of it. And it was really, what it was is showing what happened in factory farms. So showing actually how the animals were raised and slaughtered. And I only watched a minute of it, and I turned it off, and I said, that sucks. But right now, at this point in my life, I need masculine energy, and meat. I need meat for masculinity, testosterone, aggression, drive, etc. I need it for that, because of course, you need meat to be masculine. It's just the way it is. It's just a fact. At least that's what I thought at the time. That's what we're kind of told in this society. If you don't eat meat, you're gonna be a soy boy. You're gonna be a weak little soy boy. So I said, unfortunately, I have to, contribute to this, these, eating animals, which I didn't like, but this is just the way that, we're designed as humans, and in this messed up world, we got to eat animals to be strong. So I put it kind of just forgot about it and just started eating pretty much animal based again, just eggs, ground beef, carbs, potatoes, etc. And yeah, so that was kind of my little experience with handling the ethics. I just said I need it just to be strong. I'm going to use my strength to spread my positive message of the evolved method. So unfortunately, I have to sacrifice these animals and eat them to be able better to do that, because I'm a bodybuilder, MMA fighter. I need to succeed in these areas. Now, one thing that was interesting is that I want to point out is that I remember the only other time I thought about the ethics of what I was eating was when I was a little kid. I must have been like 6, 7 years old or something like that. And it was my mom, we were at the dinner table. My mom told me that, like, yeah, like the chicken that we're eating, I used to love chicken, like eating like the skin off like chicken, like the rotisserie chicken. I loved it. And I was like, yeah, these are like chickens, like running around. They're like on a farm that we killed. Now they're here. And I never like put 2 and 2 together until that point. I was like, wait, what? This is actual chicken? I remember feeling like something was like wrong about it. Like I had a feeling that like it was kind of messed up, and I didn't know what to think. But my mom was like, no, it's totally okay. It's healthy. We need it. And my dad too, I think, and whoever else was there. And so I was kind of like, okay, I guess I'll eat it. I never thought about it again until that story I told you when I was researching like the Sattvic diet, spiritual diets. So fast forward now, after from being a kid to when I was researching those diets, tried the carnivore diet, that was awful. I had to feel like crap. I was so brainwashed, I felt like crap for so long. I was like, it can't be the diet. Meat is the healthiest thing. All I need is meat. Gosh, idiot. More just uninformed, honestly, brainwashed. I don't think I was an idiot, just very uninformed, misled. And so now fast forward to the real start of the story about how I discovered the truth about eating meat. So this was fall of 2024. So maybe about like a year and a half ago. I was, as always, researching and trying to increase my knowledge in the areas of the method and all things, regarding to self-improvement, researching more about bodybuilding and dieting and stuff. I was entering, I think, maybe a new phase, like a bulk or something like that. So I was researching like some splits and training frequencies and stuff like that, in addition to diet. I came across, I don't remember exactly how it got into my algorithm. I think I looked up something on Reddit about dieting. And maybe there was a post on there about plant-based or something. And then the real thing that I remember happened was I was on YouTube, and a video came across my recommended, which was an Earthling Ed video. You guys don't know Earthling Ed. He's a vegan YouTuber who mainly does debates on college campuses against college kids. He'll sit, just at a table, put like a sign saying something about, a statement about animals, like a shock statement about, shouldn't eat animals, stuff like that. He uses different phrases and stuff to get people to come and debate him about it. And so I watched this video, and throughout the course of watching, and keep in mind, I just allowed myself to fall back in the matrix. At that little moment of slight awakening where I saw that video Dominion a few years prior, and I thought about it, and I just said, I need this right now to be a strong man. Later in my life, when I'm like 50, 60, I don't need to be, bodybuilder, MMA fighter anymore. I'll focus on spirituality, and I'll stop eating meat. And I just forgot about it completely. All right, so I wasn't thinking about it at all. But for some reason, I click on this video, and throughout the course of this video, they're debating, the ethics of eating meat. And I find myself agreeing with Earthling Ed, agreeing with the vegan in every single point. Like, not only in his actual arguments of what he's saying, but the use of logical fallacies by the guy who wasn't the vegan, the meat eater, using improper logical arguments, poor argumentative behavior, So, and I'm always someone who's extremely logical and in search of the truth. I want the truth over anything else. I'm addicted to it. If you have the option between comfort and the truth, I want the truth every time. It's more uncomfortable for me to believe a comfortable lie than it is for me to have an uncomfortable truth. So I've always been that way when it comes to anything. And so there wasn't any cognitive dissonance with me when I was watching the debate. I was just like, yeah, this is straight up facts. The vegan is winning this debate. I agree with everything he's saying. And I was like, wow. It's just that one video, like a 15-minute video, really clicked with me. And I was like, wait, maybe I shouldn't be eating meat. All right. I think I watched a couple more of his videos, then I was binging. I was like, well, I was addicted to it. I love watching debates. It's a lot of how I do a lot of my research on different things. Like when it came to like religion or like philosophy, I just watch two people debate and like see which one like I I agreed with more. Every single video, he was destroying the meat eater, like just absolutely dominating him. And then I remember thinking back, I remember Dominion all of a sudden came back in my head, like that video that I watched like a minute of. And I was like, maybe it's like wrong that I'm doing this. Maybe I don't need to eat meat. And so what I did was I sat down and I was like laying in bed with my girl. I told her I'm gonna watch this documentary, Dominion, and I sat through and I watched it. I sat there and I watched it, and it's a brutal watch. It really is a brutal watch. If you're an empathetic person and you love and care about animals, just to see the immense amount of true suffering that the animals go through, who we put on our plates to eat, that we don't have to, that we do, that the suffering they have to go to for our taste preference choices is unimaginable and hidden from society. So upon, hearing the logics of this is over the course of like a week or so that I was listening to Earthling Ed and then watching Dominion. My girl, she would kind of like, let herself fall asleep by watching it. She was kind of still like in denial. Because, it's hard. The meat, it's a dopamine because, when you're eating meat, like I would say, tastes really good. You crave it. So it's dopamine that your brain wants to hold on to its dopamine sources. Doesn't want to listen to things that say it's bad. And then also there's a spiritual side of meat consumption that is hard to explain more, but it's different than anything else that I've noticed. Like people like with like drugs, and it's also the ethical side of it. So that's what makes meat consumption unlike anything else when it comes to people being confronted with it. The reality of it is the dopamine. It's the spiritual like craving of lusting to eat flesh, and then also the ethical side of it. Like, if someone's smoking marijuana or you have an argument about marijuana, it's like, okay, sure, marijuana is not good for you, but who cares? Like, it's my choice. All right. But with me, it's like, it's not just your choice. There's victims that are suffering. So I decided that I couldn't be a part of it, but I was holding on to it. All my favorite foods, like my girl, we'd always go get pizza at this place. Like it was one of the highlights of our week on the weekend. Wingstop, like beef, steak, like milk, dairy, cheese. I loved it all. It was like the majority of my diet was animal based. I loved it. And I didn't want to, I couldn't lie to myself. Like I said, I'm always a true seeker. I can't lie to myself. So I couldn't justify it anymore. All right. But I still was trying to. I was like, I'm going to try to find something that says I need to do it for health or performance benefits. So I did a ton of research on Reddit, anecdotes, studies, videos of the health and performance side of eating meat. And after a few days of researching, I realized that there's no excuse. In fact, you will actually have better performance, better health. I watched documentaries like Game Changers, Forks Over Knives, did tons of anecdotes of people going plant-based, bodybuilders, athletes, etc., how they felt. They feel better. So at this point, I couldn't deny it. There's no health benefit, performance benefit, and it's totally unethical to do for my taste preference and selfish, and I empathize and want this suffering of these animals to stop. I don't want to be a part of it. So I said, you know what, I'm going vegan. And my girl was kind of like, oh, she didn't really want to do it because she hadn't allowed herself to, see open eyes fully to the truth. But she knew that if I was going to go vegan, she would have to go vegan. And so, she accepted it. And now she's totally, very quickly, she went totally on board, very quickly. And now here's here's my favorite part of the story. So I told you about that pizza place. And I said, you know what? We're going to have enjoy one last meal, one last pizza, and then I'm never going to have meat or dairy ever again. And so we'd always go to this pizza place. We close at like 10. We'd always go around like 9, 9:30, 9:40. They still let us in, serve us, like even allow us to eat while they were cleaning up. And so we're gonna go this one last time, and never ever was there ever an issue. Let's go, even going 15 minutes before they close, or just sit down pizza place. They would be totally chill with it. This time we go before 9, so it's like a little right before 9. They close at 10, and walk up to the door. I'm like, all right, this is the last one. Let's enjoy our last meal of eating flesh and dairy. One last gluttonous meal. And we walk up to the door, and you see the people inside. There's the workers, people are eating. We try to open the door, and it's locked. The door was locked over an hour before they close. When all the other times we went, they let us in even 15 minutes before they close. I mean, we went there tons of times. Never had this issue. That happened. Immediately I was like, I knew that it was a sign from God, from the universe, that I was doing the right thing to go vegan and stop contributing to this system of suffering, and also stop putting that stuff in my own body for my own sake, not just for the animals, but for my own sake. It was the right thing to do. And so I immediately got the message from God at that moment, when that door was locked over an hour before they closed, that no, I'm not going to have this last meal. All right? It's wrong to do. It was a confirmation that I was on the right track. And so what we did instead was we went to the store and got a bunch of vegan foods and made a big vegan meal and had a vegan dessert. Right? I think we had like a bunch of Oreos and stuff, because Oreos are vegan somehow, right? Chocolate cream cookies are vegan. That's, it's like such fake stuff they put in there. But again, it's not about, for me, it's less about, it's more about the not causing suffering to others, right? If I'm gonna put some stuff in my body for a treat sometimes, like whatever. And I remember when we first went vegan, it was like we were eating like a lot of like processed stuff just because we were trying to like convert our taste buds. I was like, okay, like, oh, these Doritos are vegan. Oh, these Oreos are vegan. Oh, this thing's vegan. So, but then we ended up eating like more like healthier foods that we love to this day. So, and ever since that day, I have not had meat or dairy, ever again. So that was how I discovered the truth about eating meat. Now a little epilogue, what happened after that? Well, that was around November 2024, early November. I ended up going for Thanksgiving, and I was like, all right, me and my girl were like, all right, now we gotta go convince our family. All right, let's go do it. We gotta get them out of the matrix. And we went, and I was telling them like the truth about it, like, telling them I'm vegan and like this is why, and trying to convince them. And I convinced my dad at Thanksgiving, and the other ones that they were kind of annoyed. Right? People hate vegans; they hate them because again, you're messing with your dopamine, the spiritual lusting to eat the flesh, and making them feel like bad people for it because of the ethical aspect of it. People don't want to believe they're bad people. It's uncomfortable to believe that you're doing something so selfish and unethical, but you need it for that dopamine. That's why the meat, it's such a matrix. It's unlike anything else. So they're really annoyed at me. But my dad went vegan almost right away. Like, they didn't have any argument. I told him I was vegan. He was like, yeah. There was zero argument. He was just like, oh yeah, like I'm vegan now too. Like right when I got home. He was always kind of an animal lover. Like there have been times where he'd be like real spiritual and just was like, he would just like not feel like eating meat anymore. It's very interesting. So he'd like gone like kind of like plant-based, or like just like because he felt like this spiritually. So he's always been very inclined to that. Animals love him. That was easy. But my other siblings were very much like me. They were like totally brainwashed, thinking that animal-based diets were like the best thing. Like all of them are into super self-improvement as well, fitness. So that was tough to convince them. So we didn't convince them in Thanksgiving. When we came back for Christmas, and it was rough too, man. Like, Christmas, like Thanksgiving, like just seeing everyone eat all that stuff. When like you love them, you know that they're not trying to be bad people. They're good people. They just need to know the truth. Right? They just need to see what you see, and then they'll go vegan. At least my immediate family, who were like my siblings and stuff, were very like logical and like empathetic, and disciplined too. So I knew that we could convince them. But it's hard, right? It's hard to break out of that matrix. So we didn't end up convincing them in Thanksgiving. When we came back for Christmas, we did ended up convincing them. We had like a conversation, me, my brother, my dad, my sister was there too. And they were just like open to listen and hear. And like, that's the thing. I knew that they would go because they're empathetic, they're disciplined, they're logical. And if we have the full conversation, I know that they won't say, screw you, and walk away mad. Like a lot of people do. People who are prioritize comfort over truth, but that's not my family. So we had a conversation. They heard the arguments and they said, okay. They saw what we saw, and they said, okay, like I'll try it. And they did their own research. They watched documentaries, stuff like that, and they were fully on board. They've been fully vegan ever since around Christmas 2024 as well. So that was my siblings, my dad, we got, and then just spent a lot of time really educating myself on the vegan arguments and the arguments people use against veganism, debunking them, realizing there's only 3 ways the vegan argument goes. If two people, a meat eater and a vegan, have a debate, there's only 3 ways it ends. Either the meat eater goes vegan. That's option 1. Option 2 is the meat eater gets mad and walks away without finishing the argument. And option 3 is that the meat eater admits that it's immoral, admits that it's unethical, unnecessary, but they're going to do it anyway because they prioritize their own pleasure over the suffering of others. Those are the 3 ways it ends. So I wanted to make sure that I could get myself to, if there was ever a debate, overcome any objections and arguments and get them to that point. All right. So that leads me to then the next big event of my journey with this, which was around, I think, April of 2025, so under a year ago, was I got a little semi-famous in the vegan community because I debated Charlie Kirk on veganism. I saw that he was coming to the school where I was at in Champaign, Illinois, University of Illinois. And immediately when I saw that he was coming, it was like, you can come debate him. That was kind of part of the advertisement, like, come debate us. I immediately was like, I felt like it was like calling from the universe. It was like God being like, you're going to go debate him on veganism. I was like, okay, I will. And I'd already done research up to that point, like so much research. I did no preparation when going into the debate. I was confident. I remember I went in. It was huge, like huge group of people there. And he said, all right, like he did a little opening speech, and he said, all right, everyone, like, come up. And I was sitting in the audience, and I had a little small talk. I need someone to record it because no one else was there. Because you only get in if you were a student, which my wife wasn't a student, so she couldn't get in. Because there was so many people there. All right, so they said the students in first, and it got filled up by all the students before the other outsiders could get in. And I need someone to record. So I was like small talking with this guy for 10 minutes. And I was like, hey man, I'm actually gonna go debate him. Like, can you record me? So, because I figured I didn't know what it was that they were recording it. If they were recording, if they were going to post it. So I was like, I want a recording of it. And so I went up. I was actually second in line. So I debated him on something first. And then I went up. And yeah. And then it's on YouTube. If you look up Charlie Kirk Debates Vegan, it's on there. And I ended up feeling I didn't feel that great about it, actually, in the moment, because I feel like I was just on the defensive the whole time, which she was good at making me on the defensive. But in the end, that was actually the thing that was good, was that, well, fast forward now, that was it. I was like, all right, well, I did it. Okay. And then I didn't think anything was going to come of it. And then a couple weeks later, this big vegan influencer, my wife, sees that he posts a picture of Charlie Kirk, or me and Charlie Kirk, on his story. He's like, Charlie Kirk Debates Vegan video coming out, reaction coming out soon. I was like, oh shit, what? I was just told, it had been a couple weeks, so I was this kind of forgot about it. And then I DM'd him. I was like, hey man, this was me. And we talked a little bit about it. He asked a couple questions about some things. And then he tagged me in the video. And then I had my little moment of fame there. It was very dopamine driven. And when people I was basically a hero in the vegan community for a bit. That I was getting interviewed by these big vegan YouTubers that I was idolizing. I had did podcasts with some people who were created some of the best vegan documentaries that turned me vegan. I was like, this is crazy. So that was just totally amazing. It was amazing just feeling all the love and support from the vegan community, because it's full of people who are very loving. And empathetic and supportive. And so it felt very good to be, just dopamine wise, it felt good to be like a hero. It probably goes back to some evolutionary thing. Like, if everyone thinks you're a hero, you're probably more likely to like survive. People are more likely to help you like survive, and maybe you have more reproductive options, So that was very fun. But the main thing too was that it's got so many DMs from people who like thanked me, saying that they felt like me. They always thought they had to eat meat. After watching that debate, they convinced them to go vegan. So many DMs. And Charlie Kirk actually deleted the video from his page because the comments were overwhelmingly, even from his own conservative fan base, were overwhelmingly in support of me and condemning the way that he was debating. And so many of the comments said this opened their eyes to veganism. So just, I'm just grateful that I was able to be a tool. I felt like I was just like going by what the universe and like God and wanted me to do, and I was grateful that I was able to be used as a tool for good in that way. And now, me and my brother hope to continue to be used as tools and make even more of a difference in the vegan community in the future. And then we have plans to do so now. So yeah, guys, that's my story with eating meat, how I grew up on it, who I was before, how I discovered the truth of it, and how I now began to influence others, and now will continue to influence others. Hopefully you, through watching this video, whether you are already vegan or you're not, watch the other video on our channel that my brother made about kind of more like the science behind it and stuff like that. Great video. So watch that. Yeah, so I feel better than ever. I enjoy my food better than ever. I'm so grateful. It's not a sacrifice. I'm sacrificing nothing, guys. Sometimes I still eat ice cream. I still eat, all the same foods I ate before, just vegan versions. And I feel great. My gains are awesome, in the best shape of my life. Better mental clarity than ever before. I feel better in every single way, noticeably. I'm stopping. I thought carbs were the things that made me feel like giving me brain fog and stuff. No, it was meat. So better in every single way. And now I'm just trying to spread the word so other people can, again, we spread the message not only for, there's a lot of naysayers like, oh, you're never going to make a difference. You're never going to shut down the animal agriculture industry. Yeah, that's true. It's so massive. We can't just shut down as individuals. But what we can do is save individual souls from participating in an evil industry that they don't really want to participate in. They just don't realize that they're doing so. And also save them from spiritual negativity of putting that stuff in their body. So I hope you guys liked the story, got something out of it. Thank you guys for listening so much. As always, subscribe for truth. Peace.